Well, the big story that we've been tracking today has been the absolute meltdown in Indigo, India's largest carrier, with more than 1,000+ flights cancelled today on a crisis that's been going on now for a long period of time. In fact, there were no departures from Delhi airport at all because of the crisis within the airline all day today. Indigo now has appealed to the government, and the government has accepted that many of the flight duty restrictions which had been imposed, these were measures which were kept in mind while looking at fatigue of pilots. They want those to be kept in abeyance for the moment, does Indigo, so that they can get their flight operations resumed, so that they can get their network sorted out. The government has now accepted this, and that's a fairly controversial move, because the question is, if these were moves which were designed to protect passengers from the dangers of fatigue, which pilots sometimes face, then why are we necessarily putting it off? But the pictures on your screen give you an idea of just how desperate the situation was, with thousands of passengers impacted across the country. So till the 10th of February, as I understand it, this has been put aside, right? And it's abeyance. It's not been put aside. It's been kept aside till the 10th of February, by which time Indigo needs to get more pilots who are available. Indigo presently faces a pilot shortage of more than 100 pilots. And if they get these pilots that they require and are able to maintain their network requirements, then perhaps that situation can be eased. But in case you were wondering how long this immediate crisis is going to take before it gets fixed, it could in fact take another 10 days at the very least before there is some sort of a return to normalcy. Now, the CEO of Indigo, Peter Elbers, who you see on your screen over there, has spoken to people. He has explained what the crisis is, and he says, and he's outlined really what the situation in the airline is at the moment.
I want to share with you that we have experienced severe operational disruptions for the past few days. Since then, the crisis continued to aggravate, with today, December 5th, being the most severely impacted day, with the number of cancellations well over 1,000, or more than half of our number of daily flights. I, on behalf of all of us at Indigo, would like to extend our sincerest apologies. Messages have been sent on social media, and just now a more detailed communication with information on refunds, cancellations, and other customer support measures was sent. Also, we have stepped up our call center capacity. Secondly, due to yesterday's situation, we had customers stranded mostly at the nation's largest airports. Our focus was for all of them to be able to travel today itself, which will be achieved. For this, we also ask customers whose flights are cancelled not to come to airports, as notifications are sent on this.
Well, Shairbir Panag has been tracking this along with a lot of us. He's a leading corporate lawyer. He joins us now. Thanks, Shairbir, very much for being with us. Indigo, as I understand it, is more than 100 pilots short. 100 pilots short can actually result in a crisis like this. Is this poor management by Indigo in being unable to get 100-odd pilots, a little bit more than that, or are these norms, which were in fact put in place by the DGCA, the regulator, 2 years back, essentially unimplementable given the plans of the airline towards its expansion?
Thank you for having me, Vishnu. This is to start with a flight safety issue, and a passenger safety and an aviation safety issue. The DGCA, very rightly so, altered Indian flight duty limit norms in order to ensure that passenger safety was put at the forefront, and we also became more closely aligned with international norms, given that we reached a stage where, partly due to the explosive growth of Indian aviation, we were really burning the candle on both sides. These conversations started in 2024, so there was enough time, as you've pointed out. These were almost 2 years back where these conversations started, even before the norms were officially put together. There was stakeholder consultation. But sadly, as the country's largest airline with close to 60% market share, rather than taking on a leadership role towards aviation safety and flight safety, Indigo went into disruption mode. And there was absolutely no leadership that came in from their side. They had enough time to plan, but they elected to try their level best through different efforts, including going to court in order to delay these norms. Even after that, when you look at the timeline between June and July this year, when it was well known that 1st of November, the second phase of the the FDTL norms will come into play, there was sufficient time to plan. But there's absolutely been no planning. So there is mismanagement, and now this is breaking down into multiple elements, and it's not just the pilots that are resulting in the delays. It's also ground staff that is significantly overworked and is unable to deplane, to disembark and embark passengers.
Sharbir, how difficult is it for any airline to get trained pilots? In the case of Indigo, it's the commanding officer of a flight, the commander, I should say, of a flight. And those are the numbers where they've actually suffered according to DGCA regulations. They're more than 100 short of where they need to be. That being the case, if you have an airline which is acquiring a new aircraft virtually every couple of weeks, is it poor planning that has resulted in this mess?
Absolutely, Vishnu. We can't attribute it to anything else. And at this juncture, for Indigo to try and obfuscate the matter and say this is court-mandated FDTL. No, it's not court-mandated FDTL. This is regulator-mandated post-stakeholder consultation, delayed FDTL to comply with, to bring us closer to international norms and to put passenger safety at the forefront. That's what we were dealing with. And if it was a question of a hundred commanders that needed to come in, well, Indigo could have made that investment. And it would have been, I tweeted about this earlier, it would have been a speeding ticket in the larger scheme of things. I'm not an aviation expert who understands aviation operations, but they could have made the investment to bring in expat pilots. And given their market share and the long road they have in terms of expansion in India, this would have been no cost at all. But what Indigo has shown us today, and by virtually leaving the government, the DGCA and everybody else with no choice, is that it would rather risk flying aircrafts with fatigued pilots,
sure,
not put flight safety at the center, but and put all of those to cost rather than make a solid and sound investment.
It is a real nightmare, and let's hope the situation becomes better, because you cannot put the convenience of passengers ahead of flight safety. That's most important, and let's hope that things get worked out in a time to come. Thanks very much, Sharbir, for joining us. Well, earlier on, my colleague Vasudha spoke to the Civil Aviation Minister. Here's what he said.
In the last 2 days, hundreds of Indigo flights have been cancelled, leading to a lot of distress amongst common people. How is this issue getting resolved? Well, the ministry has stepped in and inquiry has been ordered in. But what is the way forward? Joining us now is Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu. Mr. Naidu, first of all, when is this issue getting resolved?
I can say at this moment of time that it is on the verge of getting resolved. The major congestion has happened in the metro airports, and we have been monitoring not only metro airports but airports across the country, and we are seeing all the metro airports, most of them Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, they have been cleared right now with all the backlogs that were of passengers that were there for last 2 days, and the other ones also will be finished by tonight. And with limited capacity, Indigo is going to start operations again from tomorrow, and as the operations settle down, they are going to increase the capacity. But in terms of passengers not facing a problem, you'll see that happening from tomorrow. And the full capacity of Indigo operations getting back will probably take a couple of more days.
Right. Mr. Naidu, this has been a very bad operational crisis. The question that's being asked is, how did the DGCA or ministry not preempt something like this?
So this one reason how this has come to happening is the November 1st FDTL new guidelines that have come into place. And this is 1 month back. From the incident that we are talking about, and for the 1 month we have been monitoring, we have been discussing with the airlines, and things were going as normal. And last week also, when this Airbus 320, the EASA is given a guidelines, a directive to do the software upgradation, where 323 aircrafts were supposed to be going under the software upgradation, then DGCA itself, along with the airlines and all, they've sat together, and within a day itself, without any cancellation, they have done the major upgrade, which is a big thing when you're handling that kind of capacity. And even then also, this kind of issue was not visible at that time. So I would say that this is not something which has skipped our kind of regulation or anything. We have been thoroughly monitoring, and we have been discussing with the airlines also. And we have given them multiple forums for them to tell us if such a situation is supposed to be happening. So that is why we have put a committee today to inquire into this, how suddenly this has happened at this point of time. So we are going to thoroughly inquire into this and find the people at fault and are going to take action on them.
What is your expectation from the inquiry? I know that 15 days is the time that's been set for them, but what have been your special instructions?
So visibly we have seen that there is adherence to the guidelines, FDTL guidelines, but because that is the major reason that's being shown, that the new guidelines kind of affected this issue to come into place. So our side, we are saying that, see, other airlines have also had to follow, and they have no issue from that. Whatever this issue that we are talking about is strictly related to Indigo Airlines. So Indigo, the fault is at Indigo, not at the major level or not at ministry level or some other level. If there was something problem regarding the FTTL or something from the ministry, all the airlines should have faced a problem. But that is not the case here. So the expectation is that within Indigo, what has been the problem, that this incident had to come at December 3rd, 4th, this incident had to happen. So we are thoroughly going to inquire into it. And once we find the fault and once the report is done on this, we are going to take action on this. That is also very clear from the ministry.
So there could be some action, there could be penalties as well?
There could not, it's not could be, it will be. There will be action on them, because this is not something which we want to entertain. This is, we are very clear that the focus from the ministry is the passenger. Why we are discussing all this, why we are working, why we want the airlines to grow their capacity, why we are saying that the aviation is one of the best in the countries. It is because we want the best facilities to be there for the passengers. When that is being affected, it is our job, it is our responsibility to ensure that these kind of incidents don't happen next time. So that we are very, very clear that the action is going to follow the inquiry.
Mr. Naidu, the BDTL guidelines were also seen as a move in reform, because pilot rest, the rest of the crew was also seen as essential for air safety. How are you going to ensure air safety of passengers, especially now that this, it's been put on hold?
So that is why we have given the abeyance only for a temporary period, because here also we want the passengers who have already booked, who are looking forward to travel in this season, especially this holiday season, we want them to have good, smooth operations in place. Now, because the Indigo is facing a problem with the FTTL, this thing, until they sort out their problem, we have put this in abeyance. But we are also going to ensure in a phased manner they approach the situation where they follow the FTTL guidelines. So while we have given the abeyance, and it is strictly mentioned there, it is temporary. It is temporary. And while we are giving this abeyance, every 15 days, DGCA, ministry, everyone is going to sit and monitor how they are getting back on track to the new FDTL guidelines, which the other airlines are following. So this is not just something which have left it to the open. It is a very limited time that we have given, and within that limited time, they have to follow the new FDTL guidelines.
Mr. Naidu, when surge pricing takes place, and that's what we've seen in the last 2 days, with the other airlines charging the passengers a lot more money than usual, how is the government looking at this aspect?
By now, I am also aware that when situations like this happen, there is a certain effect on the airfares also. So for that, I have proactively, in fact, from the ministry, proactively engaged with all the airlines. We have strictly instructed them that the airfares shouldn't take any kind of hit because of this. Everything has to be in a reasonable manner. Everything has to be controlled in this time. We have to put focus on the passenger itself. We have to put priority on the convenience and comfort we are giving at the airports itself. So everyone is aligned to it, where it is going to be a strict monitoring from us also in this period. And because we also see this is a fog season, the fog season has its own weather difficulty also coming in, but we are very thoroughly prepared for the fog season also. So we are going to put additional efforts into the monitoring situation and ensure the normalcy. The first priority from the ministry is to bring normalcy into place and smoothen the operations that are going on and slowly increase the capacity and ensure that the guidelines in terms of safety and everything are not compromised, are thoroughly followed.
And how are you going to ensure that the carriers at least provide basic care to passengers who have been stranded, including food, water, and announcements that are timely?
So that itself, I've taken a special meeting with all the airport directors across the country, more than 100 airports. We have all engaged with them. A strict instruction has gone to all of them that the communication has to be given in real time, and proper communication has to be given. There shouldn't be any gap in that side. And also the collaboration between all the stakeholders, the airport operators also should take responsibility in doing it. Especially we have seen a lot of people at the airports for long times being waiting. So all the facilities at the airports, especially the food, water, accommodation and sanitation, everything should be thoroughly taken care of. So with a lot of depth, in our review, especially engaging to the point that if there is any delay in baggage also, we have gone to that situation where we have discussed about the baggage being delivered to them within that stipulated time. There shouldn't be any delay in ground handling. So each and every aspect where the passenger feels he might face a discomfort or he has been facing, that has been thoroughly discussed, and we have put the airport operators responsible for giving the last mile effort to the passengers. So we are ensuring, we are going to engage with them tomorrow also. So in a timely way, we are getting all the reports. We have a control room at the ministry now, and it has been set up a few months ago, and that is also actively engaging. We have a control room number also, and we are taking feedback from all. In fact, from the media, from the social media, and from all kinds of sources that we have, we are taking and we are engaging on it. We are immediately reacting on it.
Okay, my last question to you, sir. Is this also time to review India's dependency on one or two carriers? And this is something we've talked about. What is the ministry's larger planning with regard to this?
I'm glad that you remember, because the plan from the ministry is that the kind of demand India is creating today, we need more airline operators in the country. Not just 2 that we have today. India has the capacity to have 5 big airline operators in the country. And the intention from the government is to facilitate for that. We talk about majorly 2 airlines, Indigo and Air India, but we also have SpiceJet. We also have Akasa, which is coming up. We have Airlines Air, which is also operating ATRs in the country. We have Star One, we have India One, Fly Big, Fly 91. So we have smaller players also in the market already. What we are trying to do, encourage the small players to buy more planes and operate more planes. And we have also given NOC for new people also to come into the industry. We are creating that kind of passion in the industry that more people can come in, because this is the right time to invest in an airline in India. That is the demand. Why do you see that so many, if you look at the occupancy load factor in the country, even today, if you see with this crisis, this thing of Indigo, there is 95 to 98% load factor. It means that people are traveling. People want to travel by air. That demand is there. This is when you need to facilitate them with more aircrafts, and we have a lot of orders pending, but we need more airlines also to come in. And from the ministry, we are very clear that we want to encourage more people to come into this. If you remember, we have also passed an act in the parliament. This is also specifically related to leasing industry. We want to increase the leasing industry norms in the country, facilitate for that. That also helps in having more airlines in the country. So all the efforts that we are putting, in a way, we want to encourage more people to come in.
Right. India's aircraft carriers will not be allowed to bring India's skies to a standstill. This is Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu talking about the moves that the DGCA and the ministry have taken to resolve the operational crisis in Indigo. With Azam Siddiqui, this is Vasudha Venugopal for NDTV.
What the government has announced a couple of hours back is that they're holding in abeyance the flight duty time limitations guidelines which they had introduced 2 years back for passenger safety, for flight safety in this country. Is that good enough?
I don't think it is good news at all. I think it is a terrible idea to buckle under pressure, and pressure coming from an airline which has captured over 60% of India's aviation space. So having said that, this was something which was in place for last 2 years. What stopped the DGCA from holding Indigo to account, checking with them what was happening in terms of transition and implementing these norms? This has happened just because DGCA has not lived up to the regulation demand that it had and to enforce that regulation. And probably I'm pretty certain that Indigo management understood that they can defy all norms and can arm twist their way into submission, the government submitting itself as per whatever Indigo expects from them. And this is the outcome of it. What is happening ultimately is the passengers are suffering, and the India ambition to see more passengers taking the air travel has taken a huge hit.
So basically what you're suggesting is that flight safety is less important than passenger convenience. And no one is saying that passenger convenience isn't important, but as you prioritize, have we gotten it all wrong?
No, absolutely. This was something which was implemented 2 years ago. It was supposed to have been followed by all the airlines. Why is it that Indigo seems to be getting away with it? Indigo seems to be flouting that particular regulation that was the demand of the day, not just for passenger safety, not just for flight safety, but even for the crew safety. We've been speaking about the mental health of the pilots, mental health of the crew ever since the Air India accident happened. And yet we do not see any implementation on ground, simply because we have a situation where one airline or two airlines have controlled the entire industry. So this was something which was in the making, something that we had been alerting the government that it will come to a point where they will not just twist the passengers into paying higher airfares, having a check on the travel, the air travel that they do, and holding them to task, and as well as what is happening with the government. The government has buckled under just because you happen to have the most of the market share.
Is it also not a cause of huge concern that an airline as big as this has grown at this phenomenal trajectory where they're almost getting a new aircraft every week, but they haven't been able to hire pilots? Pilots you don't pluck them out of trees. And therefore, for them to have met the new guidelines, they would have required well more than 1,000 pilots. They never had those. So therefore, when we talk about growth in the aviation sector, does this also need to be tempered? Let's be realistic about growth.
No, absolutely. We do have a need, a hunger for people wanting to take the air route and travel faster, travel in a more convenient fashion. But and we also had the Prime Minister speak about Hawai Chappal se Hawai Yatra. Then we also had this big bombastic thing about having so many airports that were built. Now we have non-functional airports. There are no flights taking off from there or arriving there. We have airports which are in name, but they do not have any air traffic in terms of passengers moving in on flights. We have limited number of airlines. Again, this is a concern I had raised last year when Vayuyan Vidhayak bill was being discussed in the parliament, where I said, we are gloating about acquiring 800 aircrafts, but no one's talking about how we've reduced it to just two airlines, one a full service operation, which is Air India, and the other being Indigo. And they, by the virtue of just two airlines, they have captured most of the market share. We should have been alerted when we have this ambition to ensure that we have more air traffic. We should have ensured that Go Airline didn't go down under. We supported SpiceJet. Jet Airways, which was trying to revive and come back to the skies, we did not support it as much. So we are now seeing a situation where airports don't have traffic. We have no interest of airlines prioritizing passenger safety, crew safety. And we are totally, if I may say so, we are absolutely ram bharose.
What about the fact, and this impacts, this is something other airlines are all doing, a one-way ticket between Delhi and Bombay, I was looking at Make My Trip, costs upwards of 25,000 rupees. My colleagues were looking at fares in other sectors, one-way tickets going up to 40,000 rupees because Indigo flights are just not available. I understand the importance of a free market economy. We all support a free market economy, but at what level do we have to say that, this is extortion which is taking place?
So I must say, I must bring this to your notice again, Vishnu. During the parliament session when Mahakumbh was taking place, the airline tickets to Prayagraj were extremely expensive and hit the roof. It was cheaper to travel to London from Delhi than to get a ticket there. And this is something that we again had tried to bring to the notice of the Civil Aviation Minister. And that time the chair in the Rajya Sabha was Shri Jagdeep Dhankar, who almost mocked at us and said that shouldn't you feel happy that we have so many people wanting to take the air route and this is dynamic airfares. This is not dynamic airfares. This is absolutely holding people to ransom because they have no choices. They have very limited choices. And then making use of that, emergency situations or tough situations to profit on it and to increase their traffic is extremely unfortunate, unthought out, unprincipled. And someone has to make them accountable. Otherwise, this is going to be a problem yet again in the future, if you're not holding these, detailed discussions and having every stakeholder on board and figuring out how do we ensure that while we talk about Hawaii Chappal se Hawaii Yatra, we create an infrastructure which is conducive for passenger traffic to increase and increase to the proportions that we are seeing right now.